Have you ever heard the saying that a bear is just a large-scale dog? Or that they evolved from dog-like animals? On the tree of life, bears and dogs are indeed close relatives. But if you imagine the ancestor of bears looked like a dog, that would be a bit too presumptive. Among existing large-scale dog-like suborders, there are two groups that are the closest relatives to the bear family: Ursidae. One is the aquatic adapted pinnipeds, including sea lions, seals, and walruses. The other is the diverse land-dwelling Mustaloidea, including red pandas, raccoons, etc. However, if we expand our view to extinct prehistoric creatures, then a group called Subarcticidae are the true close relatives of bears. They likely represent the closest look to the ancestor of the bear lineage. About 38 million years ago, Subarcticidae first appeared in North America. Their appearance and body size were very similar to today's raccoons. Their diet was also flexible and diverse. They could prey on rodents, small birds, and lizards, but also gathered various fruits. Some of their more advanced groups evolved stronger tooth structures, capable of processing shells, bones, plant roots, and nuts, hard foods. Subarcticidae were not good at running fast, but they had certain tree-climbing abilities. Usually, they foraged on the ground, but would quickly escape back into trees when encountering danger. Looking at it this way, rather than saying bears evolved from dogs, it's better to say they are descendants of raccoon-like ancestors. After all, from both bloodline and appearance, the early ancestors of bears were closer to raccoons. The reason some people mistake bears for large dogs is likely because, in the early evolution of the bear family, there was indeed a side branch that was very similar to dogs: the Hemicyoninae, half-bears. Half-bears first appeared 34 million years ago on the Eurasian continent. They looked half-bear and half-dog. Today's bears are all plantigrade animals, meaning they walk with their soles flat on the ground. Such paws aren't great for running, but are functional for digging and searching for food. In contrast, half-bears were digitigrade animals, like dogs. They walked on their toes with their heels raised. This structure allowed for swifter movement. Therefore, half-bears were active predators, good at running, adapted for chasing prey in open areas. Imago, comparing plantigrade and digitigrade. Foot structures in carnivora. Some of these species even developed pure carnivory. Many half-bears were much larger than canines. Some reached 2 meters in length and 200 kilograms in weight. In this regard, they did possess a bear-like style. Because of the existence of the Hemicyoninae, many people mistakenly believe the evolution of bears followed a path of dog, half-bear, thinking a bear is just an enlarged dog. If we trace further back into the origins of the bear family, can we find a dog-like ancestor? The answer is likely no, because most early bear-like animals, including Subarcticidae, were plantigrade. The digitigrade walking of half-bears and modern dogs is actually a later evolutionary innovation, not an ancestral trait of the dog-like suborder. The appearance of this trait was entirely a result of environmental changes. The dog-like suborder was born 43 million years ago in the Eocene. At that time, the Earth was still covered by dense forests. There was almost no sign of grasslands. But by the Oligocene, about 34 million years ago, as the Antarctic ice cap formed, the global climate turned cold. Savannas began to expand globally. Half-bears and dogs were the first batch of predators to enter the grasslands to run. Since the former originated in Eurasia and the latter in North America, the two sides did not compete or exclude each other. Instead, they underwent parallel evolution in similar environments. While half-bears were dominating the open lands, the main evolutionary line of the bear family remained stagnant in a small raccoon-like form for a long time. For example, Belusia from 20 million years ago was only the size of a domestic cat. It's hard to imagine that such an inconspicuous passerby could evolve into today's omnivorous giants. You might think it's natural for omnivores to become large since they have a wider range of food sources. However, In the order Carnivora, most omnivores, besides bears, can only maintain a small body size, rarely exceeding 20 kilograms. Once their body size breaks a certain limit, dormant bloodthirsty genes wake up, pulling them back to a predatory path to hunt larger prey. Today's gentle red panda mainly eats bamboo. But in ancient times, the Miocene of the same family was the size of a cougar and was an absolute super carnivore that excelled at crushing bones, much like a hyena. Similarly, while a third of a modern raccoon's diet is plants, its ancient relative Chapelmalania, which was nearly the size of an American black bear, had a much higher proportion of meat in its diet and was also good at crushing bones. The root of this phenomenon may lie in the fact that these animals all originated from carnivorous ancestors. Their digestive tracts and gut microbiota always retain the imprint of carnivory and haven't fully adapted to digesting plants. When body size increases and energy demands rise, obtaining animal protein through efficient predation becomes a more direct and effective survival strategy. Against this background, the massive body size of the bear family appears quite extraordinary. How exactly did they break through this limit? Subarcticus from North America, 15 million years ago, provides a key clue. It wasn't large, only 10-20 kilo, but it had a very deep lower jaw. Compared to Belusia, its molars were significantly elongated in the front-to-back direction. The chewing direction also shifted from horizontal to vertical, improving chewing efficiency. These are typical characteristics of modern bears. Relying on powerful chewing abilities, Subarcticus evolved a diet biased toward plants. Because its evolutionary position was at the starting point of the bear family's giantism, scholars speculate that bears broke body size limits by improving chewing efficiency combined with the habit of hibernating to conserve energy. From then on, an evolutionary shackle was broken. In the bear family, a group of unprecedented giants began to emerge on the stage of natural history. The first branch was the Ursidae Pandastoa. This family seemed naturally inclined toward herbivory. As early as 12 million years ago in Europe, its earliest known member, Cretzoiactos, had already evolved enhanced teeth suitable for chewing hard plants. You might think the panda lineage would develop toward herbivory from then on, but their story is far from simple. In the late Miocene, about 10 million years ago, the global climate turned dry and cold. As forest food resources decreased, one branch of the panda family chose a completely different survival strategy. They evolved a more robust physique, longer limbs, and turned back to carnivory. This bloodthirsty branch is the Agrithorini. They were the best hunters in the bear family. Some research suggests that hurricane might have had speed comparable to a lion. The upper weight limit of Agrithorini could reach 750 kg, making them the largest land-based carnivorous mammals on Earth at the time. They were also the most successful bears of the late Miocene, with tracks across Eurasia, North America, and even into Africa, south of the Sahara. However, the dominance of the dark pandas did not last long. 530 million years ago, as the Pliocene climate turned further cold and dry, a wave of biological turnover swept the globe. In Eurasia and North America, about 60% to 80% of animal genera went extinct. The diversity of Agrithorini was halved, and primitive bears like Hemicyoninae completely exited the stage. Fortunately, the basic omnivory plate of the bear family did not waver. Two families with stronger adaptability evolved: the Tremarctini, spectacled bears, and the Ursidae. First on the scene was the Tremarctini. Their earliest known member, Paleontology, appeared 7 million years ago in North America. It was average in size, about 150 kg, but it produced a group of true giant descendants, such as the giant short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, which could weigh up to 950 kilo and stand 2.4 to 3.4 meters tall. In South America, the giant South American short-faced bear, Arctotherium angustidens, appeared reaching 1.7 tons and standing 3.4 to 4.3 meters tall. There are several common misunderstandings regarding these giants. First is the name short-faced. Their muzzle-to-skull length ratio is actually within the normal range for bears. The so-called short face is just a visual illusion caused by deep muzzles. Second is long-legged. The ratio of their limb length to body weight was not extraordinary. It's just that their trunks were relatively short, making their legs appear long. Third is pure carnivore. These giants were actually still omnivorous bears, though the South American giant did prefer meat. The rise and fall of the Tremartini are deeply intertwined with continental shifts. About 2.6 million years ago, North and South America were connected by the Panama Land Bridge, triggering the Great American Biotic Interchange. The Tremartini followed the trend southward. Past belief held that the giant bears of North and South America had a direct successional relationship. But genetic research shows the South American Arctotherium is more closely related to the living spectacled bear. This means its giant size was a result of independent evolution, likely because South America lacked large predators in the early stages of the connection, allowing them to obtain meat more easily. About 400,000 years ago, Arctotherium angustidens went extinct. Subsequent species in the genus became smaller, and their diets shifted more toward plants, such as Arctotherium wingi. This change might be related to intensified competition from new predators, like jaguars and cougars, moving into South America. The North American giant short-faced bear survived longer until the late Pleistocene extinction event 10,000 years ago. Today, only the small-bodied spectacled bear and the cloud forests of the Andes continues this lineage. Besides pandas and spectacled bears, the bears we are familiar with today, brown bears, polar bears, sun bears, and the extinct cave bears, all belong to the Ursidae. Ursus minimus of Pliocene Europe is considered the common ancestor of modern bears. Its morphology was very similar to the Asian black bear. Among the Ursidae, the evolutionary path of the polar bear is the most unique. They branched off from omnivorous brown bears. To adapt to the desolate Arctic environment, they specialized into completely carnivorous animals. Although they occasionally eat seaweed or blueberries, these plants only provide minerals and cannot provide the energy needed for survival. To survive in the far north, polar bears evolved other adaptive features, such as web-like feet to help swimming and the ability to break down body fat faster. It's difficult to accurately judge the divergence time between brown bears and polar bears through genes, because hybridization still occurs. But most research suggests they diverged within the last million years. The polar bear took only a few 100,000 years to rapidly adapt to a marine diet. An amazing speed. Looking at the evolutionary history of the bear family, their success lies not only in breakthroughs in massive body size, but also in their flexibility. From the edge of Arctic ice to the depths of tropical rainforests, from the ridges of the roof of the world to the vast grasslands, bear tracks have stepped into almost every extreme environment on this planet. To conquer this colorful world, they pushed the plasticity of their diet to the extreme, from tiny insects to omnivorous survival, then to becoming swift predators, or even devoting themselves almost entirely to plants. It is this survival philosophy of adapting to circumstances that allowed them to cross tens of millions of years and eventually walk into the era of coexistence with humans as giants.